Good morning, everybody. How are we doing this morning? This is Mitch coming to you live from the Lamppost Coffee Shop. Hope everyone's doing okay today. And let's see. I want to make sure I'm streaming. Looks like I'm okay. Hope everyone's doing okay today. Yep, looks like I'm streaming okay. So, had some problems last week. My laptop died, and so that's why I was off the air. I um, had some problems with my laptop. Took it to the Apple Store, and of course they said, "Well, it's pretty much busted, dead." So I had to find me another laptop, and in the process of setting up the new laptop, um, it's a newer machine, and so my monitor, my extra monitor that I use, uh, I needed to order an adapter. So today I'm working off just my laptop. And if you live stream, if you stream at all, you're going to discover that you need an extra monitor. One monitor is just not enough. And you say, well, why? Well, let me show you. This is a screenshot of my laptop, and look at all the open windows I've got. I've got the live feed. I've got streaming on YouTube. I've got open windows. I've got all kinds of stuff going on here. Look at this mess. And that's the reason you need an extra monitor to move these windows, to give you more space just to move the windows around. So that's the issue. And so if you're watching, jump into chat. Let me know what's going on. I'll try to keep an eye on it, see if anybody pops in, and we can talk some this morning. I'm just hanging out and testing the new system, and we'll continue to sort of do a dress rehearsal here for a while, make sure I get comfortable with the setup. I spent some time working on my audio, and this is about as good as I'm going to be able to get it. I went into Chat GPT and told them I was broadcasting live from a coffee shop, and I gave them my laptop information and the type of mic I'm using, and then it gave me some recommendations on how to set up OBS, the audio filters. And I think this is about as good as I'm going to get it. So that's the thrill of broadcasting live. But anyway, we'll do our best. And it really is a problem having just your laptop window. It's not all that great. But anyway, we hope you'll join us as we move along. And I'm just going to test out some websites here, make sure the audio is working. And we'll flip around, kind of see what's happening. I want to pick up some, here you see my live stream, it looks like I'm posting all right. And if I clicked on that, of course, I could listen to myself talk, but that's not good. Well, let's see what Speaker of the House is talking about this morning.
But not now. So over the weekend, we saw what it was all about. The Democrats made crystal clear that this is about politics. The politics were on full display. The politics, the spectacle, is what the mobs, the crowds, the rallies this week were all about. It was it was quite ironic, though. The irony was very glaring. They called it the No Kings Rally. But the great irony, of course, that we pointed out over and over was if President Trump was a king, the government would be open. If President Trump was a king, he would have closed the national parks and the National Mall, so they couldn't have had the rally out here. By the way, that's what President Obama did during the shutdown in 2013, closed all the parks and the National Mall. Here in Washington, you had Senators Bernie Sanders and Chris Murphy and Cory Booker and others marching in the streets. Now, these are the same senators who voted over and over to shut down the legislative branch and hand the reins to President Trump. They're decrying the situation that they've themselves created. This has always been about the spectacle. Chuck Schumer himself joined the spectacle in New York City. And it's interesting to note his activities there. He was standing side by side some of the most radical groups that maybe ever assembled on U.S. soil. They openly advertised as co-sponsors of the event in New York City. The Communist Party USA, the Democrat Socialist of America, the Freedom Socialist Party, the Young Communist League of New York, many others. Do we need any further evidence? They're not hiding this. They're out in the open. They're not shy about it.
Oh my.
Because this is the core.
Well, there were a lot of people who showed up, that's for sure. So you gotta give them credit for getting the crowds out. All right, looks like my video is working okay. See what else is going on here. Let's see what Kevin has to say about this morning.
Recently, YouTube commissioned a study called Why We Watch, and they worked with a research company that's also into neuroscience and some other techie things I don't totally understand. It's kind of like sci-fi. But what they wanted to do is find out why consumers watch content, how they connect with it, why they connect with it. And the study is fascinating. So much so that I think there are a bunch of takeaways that you and I who create content, especially on YouTube, can learn from. So in this video, what I want to do is share 5 of the takeaways and also some ideas there that you can really think about to maybe help you when you're creating content, especially on YouTube. Hey there, Kevin Colby here. And remember, the report is called Why We Watch. And I think this is really important. This isn't a growth hacks type of video. This is really...
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Oh, excuse me. Goodness. All right. What he was talking. Man alive. It's pitiful. I need some throat lozenges. I am so sorry. It's interesting because I saw yesterday as well a TED Talk by an author. She was talking about art, and I thought that would be an interesting thing to throw in here just to test this other section I've got here. I'm sort of playing around with adding a text, and when there might want to be a time when I want to share some notes or share some text. This is sort of an example of what we can do. But she talked about 4 ways that art, well, her topic was really about, her main point was about discomfort, about the creative process. Like I'm experiencing some discomfort right now because I don't know what I'm going to say. Creating art, the act of creation, comes with discomfort. And her point was that discomfort is mandatory. You have to feel uncomfortable when you're creating. And instead of quitting, instead of turning your back on the pain and the suffering and the discomfort and the making of mistakes, you allow the discomfort to guide you, to move you forward. Because it's all about a learning process. She says art happens in revision, in iterations. Nothing comes out perfect in the first draft. You have to go in and keep making updates keep revising, keep making iterations. And I thought about the iPhone. Look how many different iterations the iPhone has gone through. What is this current iPhone version? 17? That means Apple has revised the iPhone 17 times. They've made changes, they come out with new updates. And so if the iPhone can go through 17 iterations, what makes you think that we can create videos and create a YouTube channel without going through pain, without going through discomfort, without revising, without making iterations? That's what it's all about. So art happens in iterations. And art isn't about falling in love, it's about staying in love. And the idea here is you may love to be a content creator, you may love editing videos, you may love the internet and YouTube, and you love the idea of creating a channel. But that's only the start. The part of staying in love when the tough times come. And believe me, I know, because you create a video and you spend hours editing a video and you post it on YouTube and it gets no views and you get all discouraged. Or you run a channel, you start a YouTube channel for a year or 2 years and you don't see much progress. And so you sort of fall out of love. But the idea of art, if it's a passion, if it's something you want to do, if it's something you want to keep learning and growing with, then it's about staying in love with the process. So art isn't about just falling in love with the idea, but it's staying in love when things begin to fall apart. And she says, discomfort points the way. Pain is a guidepost, and it takes you down different pathways, takes you in different directions. The pain is there to help teach us. And I'm going to turn my head around. See here? This is a revision. This is an iteration. Because you'll notice the cat casts a shadow on my face. And the lighting in the coffee shop is such that I don't have any secondary lighting. I'm just using the light from the windows and the natural lighting. And so that reduces the amount of shadow. So discomfort points the way. Genius needs bad days to thrive. There's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days, there's going to be good videos, there's going to be videos that suck, there's going to be days when things fall apart. Like last week, I was right in the middle of things and the laptop just crashed and I was dead on arrival. I immediately drove to the Apple store. It was 5 o'clock. They closed at 6 and I went in and they said no appointments. So I set an appointment for the next day. So I drove back the next day and spent some time with the tech, and the technician took the laptop back, looked at it in his little workshop, came back out and said, it's dead. It's probably the drive, or, it could be a number of things, but it's not coming back to life. So I just left it with him. So I left the laptop with him to recycle, because you can't just throw laptops into a dumpster. That's a no-no. You have to leave it with Apple Store or somewhere so that they can recycle the goods. That battery, he told me, if you just throw a laptop into a dumpster, the laptop battery may cause a fire. So anyway, genius needs bad days, and I had some bad days last week, and I'll have some bad days this week, but you've got to keep going. Genius needs bad days to thrive. All right, so there we have that little portion of today's talk. By the way, this is the coffee shop. I do have a separate camera set up to show you the coffee shop, show you the setting. Let me give you a view of what's going on here. See that starting to get busy. Here I am. Put up. My laptop. You having fun yet? So there you have it. There you have the patient here. All right. Check. Now I know there's got to be somebody in chat. Somebody's got to throw me some chat X. Somebody in chat. Come on. If you're watching this, if you're just dropping by, send me a message. Give me somebody to talk to. All right, let's see. What else can we do? Let's go back to our browser. Make sure everything is working okay. Facebook. See what's happening in Facebook. Anything exciting? Yeah, at some point I will want to stream both on Facebook and YouTube, probably simultaneously. But to do that, I'll have to go to a streaming service. Otherwise, I can stream to Facebook live or I can stream to YouTube live. But I don't have the ability to stream to both unless I go to a third party and let them feed the stream to both platforms. So I may do that at some point because what I really want to do is I can go live on Patreon as well, my Patreon page. So there's all kinds of opportunities here, and the idea here is to get on as many platforms as possible. Create content each day for about 6 or 7 platforms. If you really want to make a presence on YouTube, on social media in general, that's what you want to do. There's X. Oh, what's going on in X?
You ask me if I'm ready. I born ready. I born ready. And I want it all for this city.
Time in franchise history, the Blue Jays are going to play Game 7. Are you ready?
I was born ready.
Hey, you ask me if I'm ready. I born ready. I born ready.
I born ready. I born ready. Pretty funny. What else is going on? Cowboys had a good day. All right, let's see. Doors at the stadium. Look at this. Stampede. Go Cowboys. Pretty awesome. Good. All right. Ooh, let's look at some protesting. No sound. Pedophiles. There'll be some Epstein talk. Let's see. Release the Epstein files. That's always a good one. No king. More love. What have they got out of? Look at all these. It's got to be California. Only California would have these many people out on the street. No, it's Portland. Well, that makes sense. Now, I want you to notice the crowd. White, middle-aged to older, white people. You see any blacks in there? You see any Mexicans? Mostly women. You got old white women in the crowd, and that's it. So what's that tell you? Unbelievable. It's amazing when you look at the crowd, the demographics. All right. What else? Well, let's see. Well, I've been online now for about 20 minutes. That may be enough for today. Since I don't have my monitor, it's kind of a hassle. But let's see if there's anything else going on that's interesting here. Ooh, Ken Burns. Let's see what he's talking about.
Joe Rogan Podcast, check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night.
Ken Burns,
All day.
the Civil War.
All right, we're up. Mr. Burns, pleasure to meet you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
I'm a huge fan, dude. I've been watching your work for so long, and I've always had so many questions about how a person like you becomes a person like you, how you become the preeminent documentarian of our time. I mean, you have so much work out there. It's really extraordinary. And all of it on PBS, right?
Right, all of it.
Which is also extraordinary.
You know, it's the public broadcasting service. It's the Declaration of Independence applied to communications, just as the national parks, you could say, was the Declaration of Independence applied to the landscape. You know, like manifestations of really American things. It may not seem obvious to us, but it seemed obvious to me that that's where I should go. So I had lots of, I headed for the hills out in New York, 46 years ago, because I thought I was taking a vow of anonymity and poverty to do this stuff. And I've lived in the same house that I've lived in since then, in the same bedroom for 46 years in this tiny little village in New Hampshire. And when the first film was nominated for an Academy Award, that was a film called Brooklyn Bridge, everybody said, "Oh, you're coming back to New York, you're going to LA." And I said, I'm staying here. It's so labor intensive. And I can sit here in front of you and tell you that every single one of my films is a director's cut. I'm not going to sit here and give you an excuse. Well, that one, they wouldn't let me do this, or they didn't give me this amount of time. And so I could, with the reputation I have, go into a streaming service or a premium cable and say, I need $30 million to do a history of the Vietnam War. And they'd give it to me. But they wouldn't give me the 10.5 years it took me to take.
Oh,
you see what I mean?
It's the time.
It's the time and the ability to marinate the ideas, to do the deep dive into the scholarship, to triangulate the various.
All right, you see what he's talking about there? What we were talking about, art and the creative process takes time, takes iterations, takes revision. That's exactly what he's talking about there. 10 years of learning the process, of learning the expertise that he's developed over time. He needs the time to let ideas marinate. That's what he's talking about there. It's interesting.
Scholarship says you know better than anybody. There's lots of different viewpoints and perspectives, and you want to find a way in which you can kind of, if not average them out, you can find a way in which you can understand them and you can have a conversation, a sort of a campfire around which you can discuss the complexity and the undertow of any subject. You pick it, the Brooklyn Bridge, the American Revolution, most recently. You know.
How early on did you realize that the only way to get this like full autonomy was to do with PBS?
I'd like to attribute some consciousness to it, and I honestly can't do it. I realized that I was striking out trying to raise funds from folks, and the people who were interested in helping me, like the National Endowment for the Humanities or this, all required me to give it for free, as I still do, to PBS. And we had foundations and that. And so suddenly that dream of being a filmmaker, which I'd had since 12, I wanted to be a filmmaker at 12, of the communion of strangers in dark rooms.
All right, since he was 12, he obviously loves making films. And he's talking about there, of course, falling in love with film. But he stayed in love with film, which is also what we talked about earlier. It's not about just having a passion, but it's staying in love with that passion when things don't go so well. All right. Again, there's the coffee shop. Things are calming down a little bit. It's not too bad in here. And I think we're going to call it a day. It's been about half an hour, and that's a good one for a Monday. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. from the coffee shop, and we'll go from there and see what's happening.